Okay guys, we're back again in the kitchen. You can tell I've gotten more festive. I guess this is all due to having all the stuff of staying at home or running out of shirts. Nah, I can't say that. We do all the laundry with so it's kept up. But last thing you saw that I did was a brisket. Before that we did an artisanal bread. Well, today I thought I'd do something because we've already had the bread and we've had the meat. We're going to actually go do a dessert at this point. And one of the desserts that my wife really likes is a shortbread cookie. It's going to be a short video. It's done in segments because you got to wait between things. So basically the only thing that's in a shortbread cookie is some powdered sugar, some flour, some salt, a little bit of oil, so we'll have some vanilla and we'll have some almond extract and butter. That's it. That's all that goes into it. Can't be simpler than that. Now the difference that I like to speak when you're doing baking or you're doing that kind of thing, whether it's cookies or bread, it's chemistry. So you want to have the measurements pretty close to being right. You know, when you're doing a brisket, you put a little bit too much salt, you let it on a little long, it's not going to be a problem. When you're talking about baking, it is chemistry, so you want to have things more accurate. Now, I don't go to the point of using a gram scale. Some people do. My brother, he does some macaroons that are fabulous. I mean, they really are delicious. I don't do that. I don't get into that. But if you are truly a baker, you'll either get to the point that you are using things like that or you know how to eyeball it. My grandmother, when she cooked, now she was about 5 foot tall with a wind behind her. She was blind in one eye from cataract surgery, but she could cook up a storm. And she showed me how to cook. And what she would do is she would take and she would be getting ready to put something in and she'd say, okay, I need to have about a tablespoon of salt. And she poured it in the palm of her hand, put it into whatever she was making. And I'd look at it and say, Grandma, how in the world do you know that's a tablespoon of salt? Don't you need one of those tablespoons out of your drawer? She says, no, son. Tell you what, bring me one of those. So she brought a tablespoon over. She poured it into her palm, did this, put it down, and it went 100%, filled exactly 1 tablespoon. From that point on, I didn't argue with her. I knew she knew what she was doing. Now, one of the first things that you need to have in shortbread is the shortening or the butter. Now, this is 4 sticks of butter. That's a lot of butter, okay? That is a lot of butter, but it's got to be soft to do what we're going to do. Now, if you'll notice, I've cut them into just strips. So I've taken 1 stick, cut it into 4 strips. This is to give it more surface when I put it in the microwave to thaw it out or make it softer. Now, I don't want this to be all melted. If you stick it in the microwave as a big block of stick, it's going to become a big puddle of butter, and half of it's going to be on the walls of your microwave when it starts popping. So what I do is I cut it into more surface area, and then I put the microwave on about 30 seconds or so on a very low setting. If you don't know how to do that, check your manual. You can also, some of the microwaves are smart enough, it just says soften butter, and that's all it does. It knows how to do it. Mine's not quite that smart. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. So I put it in for 30 seconds. I put it in about 50–60% power. Depends on your microwave. Mine's a pretty strong one. And we'll see how it comes out. It should be okay. You're going to see my puppies come in and out. Brisket's the one tan one you see coming in and out quite often. He likes to help me when I cook to make sure anything that falls on the floor is cleaned up so we keep the place all nice and clean. Now, we're going to get this out in just a couple seconds. We're going to put it in and start these cookies. Okay, you can see they're getting quite soft now. So I can put these in and get them going. Now I'm using a stand mixer. You could do this with a regular hand mixer if you wanted to. I just happen to like using the stand mixer. It's going to make some noise here. Maybe. Raise it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to cream this butter. So we're taking the butter, we're whipping air into it. We're using a paddle as opposed to using like a dough hook or even using one of the whisks that we have. We're going to let this whip up just a little bit. Now the difference in this between this and a regular cookie Regular cooking would be using egg in the batter. We're not using any egg in the batter. And we're getting this set up. Now I'm going to put in about a half a teaspoon of almond extract. And then I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now I don't like using fake. Some people can't tell the difference. I personally like real vanilla extract. It has a better flavor. Now we're going to take and scrape down the sides of this just to get that butter off the side of the bowl here. I hope you're enjoying the videos. I'm enjoying making them, and really wanting people to tell me what they'd like me to make for them, what they would like to hear about, things they like, things they don't like. Now the next thing we're add is a little bit of salt. Okay, it calls for about half a teaspoon of salt. Let that mix in there as well. The next one you got to be a little bit careful. This is powdered sugar. I have 1 cup of powdered sugar. If you don't do this quite right, you could end up snowing your entire kitchen, and then it's a real mess. Add a little bit of a thyme. Should be good. Now, one of the things when you're making these cookies, you're going to experience as you go through trial and error, as all of us do, is if you don't have the exact proportions, you'll have to figure out how to make adjustments. So, the last batch that I made, I had way too much flour. Well, not way too much, but I had more flour than necessary. And I found an easy way to adjust for that is to add in some coconut oil. I could add more butter, but I had coconut oil available. If you're not allergic to it, it's a great way to add a little bit of oil to the batter. You don't want the batter wet, but you don't want it crumbly, because that's a problem with shortbreads. They tend to get really crumbly really fast. Then you can't make cookies or anything. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 4 cups of flour. Now I'm going to add the 4th cup a little slower just to look at the consistency. And we want it to get to just enough incorporated but not be wet, and we don't want it to be crumbly. So, again, take a cup of flour. And as we add this, you just keep checking, make sure it's looking okay. Things like altitude, how wet or dry it is today can make a difference. Remember, it is chemistry. This will be our 3rd cup. Before I put that 4th cup in, I'm going to take and put the edges down again, just to make sure it's looking okay. Now, we don't want this to look like, if you've ever done pie dough before, they say they want it to be really kind of crumbly and have little buttons or knobs of the butter and stuff showing. What we're doing is we're trying to make a batter that's going to hold together. Now we're going to take this batter once we're done doing this mixing here, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes or so. And the reason we do that is we want it to set up, we want the fibers of the gluten to be able to bind together, give it a good solid cookie dough. And then at that point, it's going to make it easier to roll out and easier to cut and get to your trays. Now this recipe is going to make probably around 2 dozen cookies or so, maybe a little bit more. Depends on how big your cookie is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a sheet to put this on, and we'll see how this looks. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put it in this gallon plastic bag, and we're going to kind of knead it together, make sure it's all okay. It's looking pretty good in here. Matter of fact, before I pull it out, let me see if I can show this to you. again, if you don't have a stand mixer, that's okay. You can use a regular mixer. It would be a little bit tougher to do it by hand, but hey, people have done it by hand for years. So if you don't have that. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got a good consistency to it. It's almost the consistency of Play-Doh. And I know some of you have eaten Play-Doh. So, this looks better than my last batch. It looks like it's going to hold together a little bit better, which is really good. Now, my hands have been washed, so I don't mind doing this with my hands. And plus, I'm going to be the one eating them, and my wife is, so we don't care. So, we're going to take this out, making sure we get all of it. As you can see, makes kind of a big ball of Play-Doh. I will tell you, these bake up beautifully. Now, you could probably take this and try to roll it and do it right now, but I will tell you, by putting it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes, it will make that gluten come together really nicely. You'll be able to roll this all out, and you'll have a nice cookie. Now, one of the things that I saw a guy do, and I thought it was kind of a neat way to do it, is he actually made what they consider a butter brick. So if you don't want to use cookie cutters, and you just want to make cookies by cutting slices of them, you can do that with this. So if you wanted to do that, take your dough. While it's in this plastic bag, makes it very simple to do. Make a bar. There you go. Looks kind of like a brick. Pretty close. Okay. And there we have it. There is your cookie dough. So we're putting that into the refrigerator. We've got it all set. And when I come back, I'll cut these out and we will show you how to finish baking. So I hope you're enjoying Cooking with Bill. Again, if you've got a better name for this, please tell me. If you got things that you would like to see me cook, let me know. I know my sister's asked for red beans to rice. She does that all the time, but I have a twist on that. I think I'm going to try on one of my next videos. But we'll be back with you in about 30 minutes. All right, we're back. It's been about 30 minutes. We're making a shortbread cookie today. I think you could do this a couple ways once you've made your dough. Again, we put it in the refrigerator. We want the gluten to kind of work itself together to give you a good firm cookie when you cut it. You could roll it out, put a little bit of powdered sugar down on the counter or on a surface and roll it out. You want it to be about anywhere a quarter inch, probably maybe 3/8 of an inch thick. What we're going to do is we're going to make more of the traditional type of cookie today. So instead of rolling it out and cutting it with a cookie cutter like I did for my wife the other day, I'm going to simplify this. Simplifying is good. And we're going to take this and cut it like as a big block of cheese. Okay? So, here it is. Been in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Take it out. It's quite solid right now. You can feel how firm this has gotten. So what you want to do is you want to take a sharp knife. Again, we've talked about knives in our previous one when we were talking about doing things with briskets, having a sharp knife. But what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting these. And again, we're going to cut them about a quarter of an inch. And if you see, look how firm that is. Okay? Now, if you want them to look pretty, make sure they're more squared up when you put them into the refrigerator. If you don't care about that part of it, don't worry. They're not going to expand like a regular cookie. They're going to stay about the same shape and same size they are now. Again, if you want to have a smaller cookie, you can cut these in half. If you got any questions, go ahead and ask. I'm listening. Oh, wait, that doesn't work. My dog Brisket is down here beside of me. He is waiting to see if I drop anything that he might be able to eat. So there are the first ones that I've made. We'll continue with this. And again, if you did it the other way, if you roll this dough out, you probably could get more cookies than I'm getting doing it this way. I don't really care if I get 2 dozen or not. I figure whatever I get is what I get. And since it's so simple to do, I can always make more. Now for those of you guys that have been watching my videos, you keep asking when I'm delivering. My delivery charges are very, very expensive. So that's why I'm teaching you how to do this. Kind of that teach a person to fish type of mentality. So, we're going to have 18 cookies out of this. And again, as I said, if I cut these in half and make smaller cookies, it'd be quite delicious. And we would have probably 36 cookies from this. But I'm making bigger cookies. Now, we've already cut these. They're ready to go. I have them on these contact sheets that you can get for baking. They're a silicone sheet. You could use parchment paper, and if you don't have any of that available, you could do a spray coating of some type of spray oil on your cookie sheets. But I like using these because I can take them off. They wash up really easy, but it just depends on what you have. Now, when you're done baking these, they take about 15 minutes to bake. Now, I've seen different recipes. Some people say 10 minutes, some people say 20 minutes. So I think it really depends on your oven. It also depends on how thick you've made the cookies and how crisp you like to have your cookie. I figure it's going to be probably about 15 minutes or so. I want them to get a little bit golden on the top before I pull them out. Some people like them a little more blonde. They like to have them not have that look to the top. You can also take a toothpick and actually prick little holes in it if you want it to be more traditional. So if I was doing one of these cookies and cut them in half, that's about the size of what they call a biscuit in England. And so if you ever get those shortbread cookies from England, they actually have little holes in the top of them, almost like a saltine, except they're a cookie. Now after we're done with that, I'm just going to cheat, and I'm actually going to use cookie icing, but you could make your own icing. Basically, you're going to use powdered sugar. You're going to use a little bit of milk, maybe 4 tablespoons of milk. You can put in some additional vanilla into that as well, and you're going to stir it up, and it'll make like a glaze. If you want it to be a buttercream, then you would actually add butter that softened to that mixture and actually get that to incorporate with all that sugar, and then you would glaze the top with a butter icing on top of that. So it just depends on what kind of topping that you like on it. You could dip these in some dark chocolate. So if you have some chocolate, you can put it on a double boiler, melt it up, and then dip half the cookie in chocolate. Personally, that's what I might do with these, but I've got a little bit of everything that we're doing it. They're also good just on their own without any kind of icing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put these in when my oven hits 350, which will be in just a minute. So as soon as it hits 350 degrees, I'm going to put these both in. I'm going to center them in the oven. About halfway through, I'm going to spin them around, make sure that they're getting even, because no oven has the exact temperature throughout the oven. So I tend to turn my baking sheets around about midway through just to make sure, or even swapping shelves to make sure they're getting an even bake across them. When we're done, I'll come back here, I'll show you what they look like. We'll maybe do a chocolate dredge, and we might do a little bit icing on them, and then you'll get to watch me eat them, because you can't eat these that I've made. But hopefully you're getting something out of these videos. Again, like my videos, share them with friends. You can go to since it's on YouTube, you can also share the YouTube location, that URL. And just subscribe to my channel if you like these so that I know that you're watching, and give me feedback, because I would love to be able to do more of these things for you. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Oven just beeped. Okay, we're back. We've taken the cookies out of the oven. They've been in there for about 20 minutes, give or take a couple minutes. And again, depending on how hot your oven is, you should also swap these out shelf to shelf or rack to rack and front to back if you can during that cooking time. While they were cooking, I went and took a double boiler, which is a fancy way to say you had a pot of water and you put another bowl on top of it. I put some dark chocolate and milk chocolate into the bowl. You don't want the water boiling hard, you want it to be kind of hot, so it just gets this to start to break down. If it breaks down too fast, what often happens is the chocolate will seize up. It'll be just a brick of chocolate. If it does happen, add a little bit of coconut oil or vegetable oil, and you can get it back to the state, hopefully. But you want that sheen in your chocolate. Now, we've made these cookies. You can see they've got a little bit of brown on the bottom, blonde on the top. You could ice these, you could leave them as they are, put a little powdered sugar on the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dredge them here in the chocolate. Okay, you got your chocolate. They have a wonderful texture to them.
They're so good.
Deb has had her cookie, she says they're so good, so that's excellent. When you're doing this, you have to be careful that you don't dry them out. You want to have that right consistency inside, so watch your temperatures. And again, you're probably not going to brown the tops. So if you're waiting to brown the tops, you've probably dried out your cookie. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, Cooking with Bill. Leave your comments below. You can subscribe to my channel on YouTube. You can share this video out from Facebook. We'll probably be coming back and doing more of these things. Let me know what you'd like to hear. So,
I enjoy it.
and Deb enjoys it. So, we'll see you back in the kitchen.